Recently I've been quite infatuated with military stuff. Uh, with the Ukrainian War, I've been more into this rabbit hole of military history and military technology. So the war started. Zelensky has been begging the United States for F-16's. I'm sure you've all heard of what an F-16 is. It's probably very famous. It's probably everyone knows the term F-16. So an F-16, as you know, is a jet fighter.
Top Gun.
Of
Top Gun. That's F-16. Right?
Not top. The first Top Gun was actually the F-14.
Okay.
F-14 because Top Gun, he was in the Navy, and the Navy have different planes. So in first Top Gun, it's the F-14, and in the new Maverick, it's the F-18. Those are Navy planes. Those are planes that actually land on the air carriers. That is the Air Force. So the Air Force, have the F-16. Okay, so why the F-16? I was very curious. Like, out of all the planes that the Americans have, why was he so eminent on the fifth? And why was the United States so hesitant to give the F-16? So it really piqued my curiosity. So I did a little research. Well, the F-16s, they're probably going to come. They're probably I don't know about the summer, but probably by the end of the year. Not the problem, the F-16s, but it's also the training of the pilots and all that. So
who makes the F-16s?
I think it's Lockheed.
Martin, yeah.
Give you a glimpse.
Mhm.
The F-16 is very one of its main characteristic that usually I can tell what an F-16 is that vent under.
Yeah.
Like the air intake. So that's very well, I use that as a way to know which one the F-16 is. So the F-16 was created during the Cold War. Well, so the F-16, during the Cold War, the United States wanted to make a very powerful fighter jet. But a lot of fast planes, a lot of at that end they were trying to be very cutting edge with the MiGs and wave planes. So the Americans created probably one of the best jets time, even at the time and even today. That's called the F-15. F-15. So F-15. Thing's very powerful. It's very fast. Back. The only problem with the F-15, best plane at the time, it's considered one of the best planes now. It's too at that time, it's an $80 million plane. At that time in the 70s. Imagine now. Yeah. Americans loved this plane. It was the jewel of the American Air Force. Loved it. It was a big cash grab. It was a big money pit. So they wanted something. It's capable. Pretty much had the same capabilities of an F-15. So what they came up with. So the F-16 down to about 25 to 30 million. Almost for the price of an Eagle, you get 3 F-16. So it's a no-brainer. It's a cost-effective plane. Because it's cheaper does not mean it lacks performance. It's probably one of the best planes for dogfights. You know what a dogfight is? It's close combat when you're fighting an airplane. And it's so affordable and it's so cost effective that almost about 25 countries have this plane in their air force. Yeah. So it's a very popular plane for countries.
It's not a plane that's to the States.
No, the F-16. No, even the F-15 is not. But it's a more favorable choice for countries because of the price, and it's easier to maintain. The F-15 is more complex, so it takes a lot of maintenance, and it's 2 engines, so it's a lot of maintenance work. The F-16 is a 1 engine plane. It's
not fine.
gonna say it's half the size, but it's very compact. It's like this. It's like the F-15 is the Honda Accord, and this is the Civic. All right. And so that's it. So the Ukrainian wanted these planes. They were begging the United States, and the United States did not want to give it. Why did the United States want to give it? Because they didn't want to poke the bear, right? At that time, Putin was screaming nuclear weapons. You're gonna regret it. He was drawing a line. If I,
he's saying he's willing to fund like other countries with fighter jets and weapons. Biden this week.
Yeah, that's why. Okay. That's why I came up with this topic. So last year, 2023, Biden finally, because usually a lot of times with American military stuff, country has American like planes or tanks. They're not allowed giving it without the American. It's kind of written in the contract. The United States has to give the okay for other countries to be allowed to give their military equipment. The United States, all things like Netherlands, or like Belgium, maybe Sweden. I forgot exactly all the countries. They want to give it. The United States did not give the okay because they didn't want to upset Putin. At that time, they didn't know if Putin was going to use nuclear weapons, and also they were worried because that time Finland wasn't part of the NATO. Wasn't part of NATO. They were scared. Russia was going to retaliate, maybe attack even other European countries or other places like Moldova, stuff like that. But now, the United States said, you know what, let's do it. I guess those threats fell on deaf ears. I think they're calling Putin's bullshit. Or I don't know what happened. They just didn't care anymore. They decided to let out the F-16s.
They gave it,
I'm thinking.
They lent it out, right?
They're gonna give F-16, and they gave the permission for other countries to be able. Right. I turn off the sound just to let it play. So I should have had this video while I was talking before, because now I want to show you some other pictures. And one condition that the United States would allow F-16s is if the pilots were trained in NATO how to use F-16s, as well as being updated to like NATO style aerial tactics and military doctrine. So that was one of the conditions. Since then, a lot of pilots went to European countries just to train to learn F-16. What is Ukraine at the moment? What is Ukraine? These are all planes from the 1970s. And remember, F-16 is from the 1970s as well. .27. Yeah, that's cool and stuff, but it's a very famous plane, the MiG-29.
That's a Russian plane, the MiG, no?
They're all Soviet. This is before Russia became, well, it was Russia, but before the Soviet collapse, Ukraine had these planes, and after the Soviet Union collapsed, they had these planes. Russians had these planes too, but Russians kind of upgraded their planes. These are literally like Soviet airplanes, so they don't have, the radar is ancient. The missiles that you can mount on these things are subpar. They're not smart missiles. They're like the tracking system and stuff like that. Or Russian using a 2008 plane, the Su-5. This is what the in the airs on the battle on during the So what's the issue with having these planes? The Russians know these planes, right? The ones in Ukraine. Abilities, they know patience, they know the weaknesses. So when you're planning out your missions, you know what the other planes can't do or can't do. So that's very helpful for the Russians, right? And very bad for Ukrainians. They're very slow compared to these planes, so they have no chance of catching up to one of these modern Russian. So what Russia does now, they go in quickly, they either drop bombs, they attack a certain location where troops are, or they sort of headquarters or just buildings. Get out of there. Ukrainian planes at the moment have no chance of even intercepting them, catching up to intercept them, or even after they drop the bomb to chase them, to try and shoot them down. They have no chance. It's just they'll never make it. And they have outdated technology, like I mentioned before, radar system. The weapons are very outdated, so pretty much have no chance. But still, the Ukrainians were still pretty good, not allowing Russians to have air superiority. Russians technically, people are bungled why Russian does not have air superiority. For what the Ukrainians have in their arsenal, they did a pretty good job defending. So that's screams volumes for Ukraine's morale and their heart to fight in war. You know, what would an F-16 offer? Obviously, the F-16 would be a major upgrade to the current force. It would add a lot of speed, versatile, able to combat close range dogfights. And think about it, this plane is from the 70s and it still holds to the same level as new modern Russian planes. Quite a feat, that. The F-16, yes. They have obviously a more modern tracking system, probably one of the most latest radar tracking, missile tracking, all that stuff. And it's able to carry more payload, meaning more missiles, more ammunition. They're able to even carry nuclear weapons if it ever gets to that point. Okay, so without saying, how would it change the war in Ukraine? So I have 4 main points that it would change the war. One main thing, unfortunately, the planes they have now, not before, their ammunition or like missiles and armory. The United States tried to send missiles called the AGM-88 missiles, and they're called high-speed anti-radiation missiles, or it's called HARM. And these missiles are very unique. Usually a missile, you've seen it in movies and stuff like that. What is a missile usually tracks? Like the heat source, or it tracks the infrared or something like that. Missile actually tracks, so when a fighter jet is scanning with its radar to track, that radar sends a radiation. This missile tracks that radiation. But for another jet to be effective, it has to have that radar on. This missile, it actually is able to track just by the signature of the radiation of the U.S. was able sent these missiles. Beginning of the war, they sent these missiles. To mount this missile in a Soviet era plane that's not designed to use this, it's not effective at all. They were able to mount it by ingenuity, engineering wise. Still couldn't use the missile to like its full potential, right? One way they could have done it is getting much closer than they should to be in some sort of range that they could effective, but then they're open to being shot down, especially that they're slow planes, very easy targets to shut down. So they couldn't do that. So then they tried, maybe we can do it from farther away. You could, but what happens when you shoot it too far away, you give enough time for the Russians to track this missile coming. What did they do? Shut off the radar system, then the missile's flying blind. So they couldn't use these missiles effectively. Now what the F-16 does, the F-16 is so advanced, so it has like this missile has its own, the scanning, the built-in thing to scan the radiation. From what I understood, the F-16 has its own super radar system It actually takes that information, downloads it to the missile, but has this extra information. So you can shoot it from far away, and for some reason with this extra information that it downloads from the plane to the missile, even if the Russians turn off the radar system, it'll still be able to track them. It has like 3 different ways of scanning of targeting this thing. So the F-16 would bring that to the game. So now, and not only that, it has the speed. So now they can go in there and get the fuck out before the plane, before they counterattack. One reason that would help, it would turn the tide. Number 2, so the start of the war, the Russians were actually a very big disappointment. Of like I mentioned before, people are boggled that why don't they have air superiority yet. I don't know. Their strategy sucked. Their planes sucked. I don't know what it was. They were getting shot down by the Patriot system a lot. So now their planes don't really go beyond the friendly airspace. Well, friendly for them. They go a bit, shoot the bombs, and then they come back to their own. They have the like 300 S-400. That's their own surface to air.
Okay, it's like their bunker
system. So they came up actually with a pretty smart glide bombs. Basically, it's old Soviet era bombs. They're huge bombs. They just basically attached wings to them, called glide bombs. They're able to kind of dip their toe in the Ukrainian, let go of this bomb, and this bomb would pretty much glide with a propulsion system, and just later. Oh, sure. Let's see this old bomb attached to it, and now it's effective, and it can glide around. Did I say like around 90, 100 kilometers into the enemy? And it's so old that modern defense systems don't even track it. So ancient, it's not even a threat. They think it's, I don't know, they think it's someone throw a football. I don't know. But it is a powerful bomb, and it may not be smart in the sense of getting it on target, but it causes so much destruction that if you get it between like 20 meters of the target, it'll do a big hole. It's been very effective. They've been coming to the zone in Ukraine airspace. However, the planes that Ukraine have no chance of either intercepting them. At the time they launch the bomb, they start heading back. They can't even chase them. They just go. They have no chance of chasing them. Now the F-16, they have that. They can intercept them on time, and even if they launch the bomb, they're trying to rush back to friendly skies. They'll chase them. They'll catch them and shoot them down. So that's another way an F-16 can change the tide. Third, the F-16, now with the Su-35, probably be the first time in history modern plane, Russian plane against modern American plane. This hasn't happened before. There hasn't been a war with Russia since World War II, technically. There's been little stupid wars in Georgia, Ukraine, but they didn't have an air force. There was no. So this would hurt Russia. Imagine the Su-35 sucks. Wipes the floor with the Su-35. That's going to expose that Russia is not really a top military, advanced military, especially for their planes. Just like the tanks. War proved the tanks are garbage. B, it might hurt their military exports of these weapons. Now the tanks suck. Now you're going to see the planes suck. It's a big hard hit on the economy. Exports for the planes, country morale, and even military morale. They see their own planes are getting shot down like nothing. Well, we don't know what's going to happen. Maybe they're good fighters. Maybe they're not. But this is the first time we're going to see. So that's one way that can turn the tide in the sense of
Ukraine has nothing to lose here.
Ukraine has nothing to lose. Russia has a lot to lose. If these planes don't perform well. And 4, my final reason how the F-16s would affect the war. The F-16s pretty much, by the Western countries allowing F-16s, we pretty much are saying, we're not afraid of you, Putin. We're not afraid of your threats. Not afraid of your... Not afraid of you anymore.
Propaganda.
Exactly. And that's a big part too.
Mm-hmm.
when your enemy no longer fears you, don't you think your troops are going to feel that too? The people are not going to feel
that's
that.
true. It's a big morale boost.
That's
so.
one. So that's pretty much my breakdown.
Yeah, nice.